Hey, what's up guys? My name is Daniel Lopez with Invest in You Finance, and today we're going to talk about how I was able to live in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania for free. Now, I know you're probably wondering like, oh, how do you live there for free? Well, I'm going to show you guys exactly how I did that. But first, if you're new to the channel, welcome. I appreciate you guys coming. Please like and please subscribe. It really helps me out, and it allows me to make these videos as often and as fast as I can. So without further ado, let's talk about it. Back in 2015, when I was working at my corporate job for an oil field service company, I was working out of Midland, Odessa, or Midland, Texas. And back in 2015, things were pretty rocky in the oil field. I had started in 2011, so I'd been there for 4 years, and in 2015, I guess it would be like the first time I've seen a downturn in the oil field. That's what they call it, because oil field has like these cycles. So this was my first oil field downturn that I was, experiencing. And what happened was basically my company had shut down their office and they've laid off like pretty much everyone except for the higher executives in the office, and they only kept 5 field specialists. Luckily, I was one of the 5 field specialists. So my boss, he called me one day, he said, "Come into my office, I want to talk to you." So I was like, oh man, he's gonna fire me, I'm gonna get laid off. So I was ready, to get laid off and hear the bad news. But what ended up happening was he said, "Hey, do you want to move to Pittsburgh?" And I was like, shocked. I was like, "Oh, yeah, sure, I'll move to Pittsburgh." And then he's like, "Okay, good. When can you move?" I'm like, as fast as you need me to get there." He's like, "Okay, how about next week?" And I'm like, "Okay, let's go." I had been living with my parents at the time, so it was easy for me to just pick up and go. So I just was really grateful that I didn't get laid off and that they allowed me to continue working, but I was going to be working in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I had never been to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I'm from Texas, so I'm used to the warmer weather. So I knew it was going to be like a new adventure and it was going to be fun. At the time, I was 29 years old. So moving over there was going to be like my first move out of my home city. And right away I started looking on Craigslist for people who needed roommates so I can just find a place as fast as I could. So I found a place. It was in downtown Pittsburgh and the rent was going to be $500. So the rent was $500 and I would just pay, we were living in a house basically. And the house had 5 bedrooms, so everyone in the house was paying $500. So the whole total rent was $2,500. So fast forward, I moved to Pittsburgh it was like the middle of 2015. So I only signed the lease for 6 months. And at the end of the year, when it was come time to do my taxes, I found a CPA, a local CPA, and he was like, "Oh, okay, yeah. So here in Pennsylvania, you have to pay 6% state income tax," which that was new for me because I'm from Texas, and Texas has 0 state income tax. So I said, "Okay, yeah, that's cool." And he's like, "And because you're living in Pittsburgh, in downtown, you have to pay a 3% local earned income tax." And I was like, "Oh, really?" He's like, "Yeah, so right off the bat, I'm like, God, I'm gonna have to pay 9% on top of the federal taxes that I was gonna have to pay that usually everyone has to pay." And I was like, oh man, taxes are gonna be expensive. And he was like, "Okay, so just for your local earned income taxes, you're gonna have to pay $6,000. And I was like, $6,000? I was like, man, that's the money I want to use to invest to reach my financial independence goal. I'm just thinking about it in my head. I'm like, oh man, yeah, okay, yeah, I'm gonna have to write the check for $6,000 and pay percent or pay Pittsburgh local earned income taxes. So he's like, yeah, so if you want to save on this income tax, he's like, I can tell you how to do it. I'm like, oh, really? Yeah, tell me. He's like, okay, so you're living in downtown Pittsburgh. He's like, this is where they charge 3%. If you just move like 15 minutes away from the city, he's like, you can go to Ross Township. And in Ross Township, they're only going to charge you 1%. And I was like, oh, really? He's like, yep. So I was like, okay, would I rather pay the 3%? That's from like my income, or the 1%? So right away I was like, I'm just gonna move to Ross Township. And I was like, if it's 15 minutes away from, the stadium, downtown Pittsburgh, I was like, I'd rather save $6,000. So in my mind, by just moving from Allegheny County to Ross Township, I'm saving 2% of my income. And guess what? In my mind, I'm thinking, that's pretty much like me living for free. Because I'm gonna move, I'm gonna save all this money, and essentially, the money that I saved is going to pay for my new place that I'm gonna live at. So same thing, I ended up getting, hooked up with a coworker, and he was like, hey man, do you wanna, split rent? And I was like, sure. He ended up living in Ross Township. So same thing, it was $500, and I would just, pay him monthly. But what made me feel a lot better about the situation was that I had already paid the $6,000 to Allegheny County. So because I just moved 15 minutes away, I was gonna save all that money, and that money was going to basically pay for my rent. So was I living free? In a way, I made it, make me feel better by thinking, oh yeah, I'm living free. But once I paid that $6,000, I was like, man, I'm not gonna pay that again. I'd rather move. And I'm not really losing too much because I'm still 15 minutes away from the city. So this is how I was, in my mind, able to live free in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Anyways, guys, thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Please like, please subscribe. I have so many videos out there. Go check those out. And the channel is all about financial independence, reaching your financial goals, and trying to figure out what do I want to do? What goals do I want to set so I can be financially free? How can I save money? What are these things? So in my journey, I was always thinking okay, whatever money I'm going to save by doing something like this or other ways, I know that I'm going to put that money in the stock market so it can compound and grow. And it's crazy because just doing small things like saving money on rent with compound interest, it creates this snowball that just starts going and going and going, and before you know it, your account has doubled or tripled, and you're like, oh my God, that's crazy. So anyways, guys, take care, appreciate it, smash the like button, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.